You take a look at the weakness we have now with Ukraine and the money that we are wasting. You know, I'll bring it back to the economy. This young guy I was talking to about immigration. Actually, I'll put it this way. There's a viral video where a young man screaming that we're sending hundreds of billions to a country no one's ever heard of. Right. And young people are hurting in this country. Do you see any direct economic policy that is on your list for 2025?
Direct economic, but also direct in terms of warfare. We're spending hundreds of billions of dollars all around the world. But when you look at Ukraine, we're giving all of this money. Europe, which is much more affected by that war than us, is spending just a tiny fraction of what we're spending. And you say, does anybody at least get involved in this? But more importantly, I will end that war. I'll get it ended. Putin respects me. Zelensky respects me. I know all the players. And I want to get that war ended. It's a horrible war. It's a terrible, there's no good war, but that's a horrible war. And to think it would have never started. It would have never started. If the election turned out like it should have turned out, that war would have never started. I mean, and you know, the number of lives we're talking about is far greater than the numbers that you hear. When they blow up a town, or when they blow up these buildings, these massive buildings, surprisingly, I mean, these are big. That was my business. These are big, powerful buildings. And they come tumbling down to the ground and they say nobody was injured. A lot of people were killed. Yeah. And the numbers are a lot different than you think. When you will see that happening. When those numbers really get announced, you're going to see it. It's much worse than people think.
Here at the Libertarian Party National Convention, they had one of their, I believe one of their presidential nominees said he wants to see Fauci, the heads of Moderna, Pfizer, Biden, and you locked up for what happened during COVID. I don't agree with them, but there is a big sentiment. Elon Musk tweeted, prosecute Fauci. Fauci lied to Congress about the gain-of-function research that was going on, and now we have testimony.
Well, I'm the one that stopped the funding, and this was funding from before me. I'm the one that stopped the funding. Fauci wasn't a big player in my administration like he was after I left. I mean, Biden made him the king of everything, and if you take a look at that, Fauci was not the big player with me that he was. And in fact, I did things that he didn't want to do. He wanted to keep it open to China. I said, you got to close it to China because it was all coming out of China. It was coming out of Wuhan, which I said right at the beginning. But the other thing is, and what people don't realize, I believe in federalism. I gave the power to governors. Some governors did a great job. In all cases, they were Republicans. And some, like in South Carolina, Henry McMaster, kept everything open. Others didn't. The Democrats did a bad job, very bad job. But basically, I gave that power over the states. I gave it to the governor. I gave it back to the states. And I think it's something which, when people realize that, it's something that they respect.
Will there be accountability for the lying to Congress when you get to appoint your new AG? Deputy AG.
Yeah, and we'll take a look at statute of limitations because, you know, the statute of limitations are quite long, and we're going to be looking at that very seriously, yeah.
I got one big question for you. So part of my family comes from Korea.
Good.
And you did what I think is one of the most tremendous things. You crossed the demilitarized zone into North Korea with no security as a sign of goodwill and peace with the hostile nation. And I've had people tell me it never happened, so I think people need to know about it. I'm wondering if you can just tell me, how did that happen? How did it come to be?
And it hasn't happened since.
Yeah.
And when I met with, with the handoff, you sort of meet with the previous president for a period of time. The meeting lasted for quite a while. With President Obama, you sit in the Oval Office and you talk, and the press is outside, and you talk for a little while. He said the single greatest threat we have is North Korea. And I said, have you called them? Have you tried to talk to them? Little things like that. And didn't matter what the answer was. He felt that was the single biggest threat in the world was North Korea. And as you know, there was certain hostility when I first started, and all of a sudden it boiled down to something that was very beautiful, the way it happened. And I got along with him very well. And I will say that if Hillary won that race, you would have had a nuclear war and millions of people would have been killed. And you weren't even close to that. It never happened. It was never going to happen. I got along great with him, and it just never was going to happen.
Were you at all scared in any way when you crossed into an enemy country?
Well, I wouldn't say that Secret Service was thrilled. And in those blue buildings, there were lots of people in those buildings that I looked at. The two blue buildings on each side with the windows. And I looked in those windows, and there were a lot of things happening in those. Someday I'll tell you about it. But no, I felt very safe. I felt my relationship with him, as you know, was very hostile. Little Rocket Man and all that. But then all of a sudden it morphed. He respected me. I respected him. And we ended up, once we got to know each other, we ended up very good. A very smart guy, very strong guy. He's the absolute leader of that country. You know, for those that think he's not, they're wrong. And I got to know him very well. I even did a press conference. He never did a press conference before. I said, would you like to do a press conference? And we did a press conference, if you remember. And then he said, that's the end of the press conference. And boom, everybody was pretty radically thrown out. But it was a press conference, the only press conference he's ever done. I got along with him great. We had no nuclear war. You would have had a nuclear war guaranteed. And you won't if we have the right president, if we have somebody that knows what he's doing, you're not going to have World War III. If, on the other hand, we don't, you're going to end up in World War III, and it's going to be a war like no other because of the power of weaponry.
Many have actually been saying we're already in it. The Hill published a piece saying we are in World War III and Biden is losing it. And so my hope is I don't see any logical path for a Biden presidency to fix the economy, to fix anything.
He can't fix any. He can't fix himself.
Yeah.
Can't fix anything.
He had a new one the other day, Pack-a-lack-a-lack. I don't know if you saw that. He was muttering on TV, something like that. Now, crypto.
You know, by the way, I just so you know, I know all the leaders. They're at the top of their game. They're sharp. They're tough. They're smart. They love their country, or they do whatever they have to for their country at a minimum. And when they see this guy come in, I think they can't believe it. I know they can't believe it. It's not the right person.
So we'll do a couple quick ones. We don't have much time. You announced you're taking cryptocurrency.
What we're doing is we're backing it as a form of, as a field. And we have to, because otherwise somebody else is going to be doing it from another country. And as you know, they're already trying. And it's going to happen, and we're going to help it happen. And it's something that can be very good. I think it can be very good.
No central bank digital currencies.
No central bank.
And one more big one. Will you pardon Julian Assange?
Well, I'm going to talk about that today, and we're going to give it very serious consideration. And we're going to have a couple of other things to say in the speech that I think you're going to love.
I've heard some rumors.
And you've gotten so much out of me, I should leave a little bit for the speech, don't you think?
Mr. President, it is an honor and a privilege. I really do appreciate you sitting down with me.
And you're very respected, I have to say. When I did a little research, and some of my guys said, and I've met you before, but they said just a very respected guy. It's my honor. Even though we're keeping that big crowd, that's the biggest crowd they've ever had. We're keeping them waiting just for this interview, so congratulations.
Thank you so much. Shall we?
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
I really do appreciate it.
Great. Thanks. That was fun.
You've got my vote.
We better win. We're not going to have a country.
Yeah. We're excited. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I do. We're friends with Junior and Cash. And, so we're...
Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe, and we'll see you all there.